Let's talk about one of the weirdest and honestly most universal human experiences out there. Why our brains sometimes take our most painful memories and wrap them up in this strange, warm, nostalgic glow.
You know the feeling, right? It's late at night, you're scrolling, and suddenly you find yourself thinking about a relationship that, let's be honest, left you feeling completely drained or misunderstood. And yet, there's this ache, this weird sense of longing for that person. It's so confusing.
So, right off the bat, let's get one thing crystal clear. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. You're not weak, you're not addicted to drama, and you are definitely not stupid. This isn't some kind of character flaw. What's actually happening here is your brain running on a kind of biological autopilot. It's doing its number one job, which is to keep you safe. But the way it defines safe doesn't always line up with what your conscious, logical mind knows is actually good for you. Okay, so let's dive into our first big idea, this relentless search for safety that your brain is on, and more importantly, why it gets familiar confused with safe.
Think of your brain like a smartphone. When your emotional battery gets super low, it automatically switches into low power mode. We can call it conservation mode, and its main goal in this mode, use as little energy as humanly possible.
So this is the kind of math your brain is doing in that state. Over here, you've got familiar pain. Yeah, it sucks, but it's predictable. You know the script, you know how it feels. It takes almost no new energy to deal with. But over on the other side, you've got a new, unknown future. Even if it could be amazing, it's uncertain. That takes a ton of energy to navigate. And to your brain's little alarm system, the amygdala, that predictable pain just feels safer than the high-effort, scary unknown. And this is all tied to a biological principle called homeostasis. It's basically the drive for any system, including your own nervous system, to just keep things the same, to maintain a familiar balance. We see this with all kinds of habits, right? It's why breaking any routine, even a really bad one, feels so incredibly hard. Your brain literally fights to get back to what it knows, even if what it knows is unhealthy. Let's make this super practical. Say you grew up and your role was always to be the fixer or the strong one, the person holding it all together for everyone else. Well, that pattern becomes your brain's version of home. It's the blueprint. And going back to that conservation mode, falling back into that role is easy. It's low effort. Your brain has the script memorized, so it will actually instinctively seek out relationships where it gets to play that familiar part because that's what feels safe and energy efficient. So that's the whole safety and familiarity piece. But it gets even more complicated because it's not just about comfort. There are some really powerful chemical tricks your brain is playing that can convince you that all that chaos was actually chemistry. This brings us to this wild psychological phenomenon, misattribution of arousal. It's a really fancy name for a pretty simple mix-up. Your brain feels all the intense physical signals of stress and fear, and it just mislabels them. It calls them intense passion, or a sign of a deep, powerful connection. And why does this happen? Well, because the biological wiring for fear and for intense attraction are bizarrely similar. Think about it. In both scenarios, your heart races, your muscles get tense, your entire nervous system is on high alert. So when you're in a really volatile up and down relationship, you're basically living in that state of high arousal. And your brain, trying to make sense of all that physical noise, just slaps the label chemistry on it. And on top of all of that, we have to talk about dopamine. At its core, your brain is a reward-seeking machine, and dopamine is the neurotransmitter that keeps it hunting for the next good thing. So picture a really difficult relationship. It's often like living in an emotional drought, you know? There's long stretches of silence or neglect or just inconsistency. You're basically starved for any kind of warmth or validation. Now, what happens when, in the middle of that long, dry desert, you get one small, unpredictable drop of kindness? A single nice text message, a rare moment of feeling close. It's like a tiny little dopamine snack. But because you've been so starved, that little snack feels absolutely revolutionary, and your brain latches onto it with everything it's got. So here's the kicker. Your brain, trying to protect you from the reality of the constant pain, glues itself to those few good moments. It creates a mental highlight reel of only the good stuff, and it filters out all the bad. This cognitive bias actually has a name. It's called euphoric recall. It's your brain's way of rewriting history to make the past feel not just bearable, but kind of beautiful. Okay, so we get the why now, right? We see the brain's shortcuts, the chemical mix-ups, the mental highlight reels. But understanding is only half the battle. So let's shift gears and talk about how we can actually start to break this cycle. The most important, number one, non-negotiable first step is this. You have to stop judging yourself for having these feelings. Seriously. When you shame yourself, when you say, I'm so stupid for missing them, you're actually activating your brain's threat system. And what does a scared, threatened brain want to do? It wants to escape, often right back into the familiar comfort of those romanticized memories. So instead, we're going to try a much gentler 3-step approach. Step 1, just acknowledge the feeling. Don't fight it, don't wrestle with it, just let it be there. Step 2, practice a little mindful regulation. Just pause, take a deep breath. And step 3, respond with compassion. Just remind yourself, my brain was just trying to keep me safe. And here's a really powerful way to put this into practice. The next time that wave of longing hits, just pause and ask yourself this one simple question. Don't get caught up in the story about the person. Get curious about what's happening inside you. Let's really break that down. Are you truly craving that specific person, or is that feeling just a mask for something else? Are you actually just feeling lonely right now? Maybe a little bored, or really stressed out and overwhelmed? Is your brain just hunting for a quick, familiar dopamine hit to get a little relief from this exact moment? When you identify the real underlying need, you can actually give yourself what you need instead of chasing a ghost. And as you're doing this work, please remember this powerful idea. Your feeling, your growth, it's for you. It doesn't need an audience, it doesn't need to be validated or even noticed by anyone else to be real and true. You don't have to perform your recovery for it to count. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Not how do you fix this all at once, because that's overwhelming, but something much smaller, much gentler. What's one small experiment you can try today in just being kind to yourself? Because that, right there, that's where the real journey begins.